Franchelle, welcome to Unraveling Midlife. It has been quite some anticipation, as you were originally on my list of people almost 2 years ago that I wrote down, thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could talk to these people? And here we are. Here we are. So tell us about you.
Well, I really wouldn't know where to start. I mean, it's been an incredibly big life. And when you first invited me to speak on your Unraveling Midlife podcast, I thought, well, I didn't really think it would be a good fit because to me, well, if I was thinking about midlife, it sort of seems like a long, long time ago. So it's not as if I'm going through midlife now. That was it seems a very long time ago. And also because I have this strange relationship with time. So, midlife is sort of clock time and chronos time and physical body time and the things that happen to the physical body. And so my world is really first foot forward is Kairos time, which is soul time and spirit time. So when I think of years or how old am I and what happened when, I find that very, very difficult because one, I don't think in a linear way anyway. So to start trawling back as to what happened when, it's like, well, it's been and it's gone and I'm here now. And so all these things went through my mind in terms of why, what would I have to say that could possibly be of any interest to your listeners? And then, of course, my life, as you know, is spirit directed, and spirit said, front up, do it. And so here I am, following in true obedience and following the next piece in this wonderful mosaic that is life.
Well, thank you, Spirit, because even that answer gives us, I don't know, a little taster of thinking about things in a different way than we might in the day-to-day. I know, I mean, unraveling midlife, I'm asking people about midlife, but really I'm unraveling my own by having interesting conversations. So you don't have to talk too much about midlife if you don't want to. But I was quite fascinated when I looked at your midlife dates, because they did seem to be the run up to your release of the first light flower essences.
Well, it's funny because just yesterday, I thought, oh, I better do some preparation for this podcast. So I Googled, what is a midlife crisis, because I don't really think I had one.
Oh, cool.
I sort of think my whole life in many ways been a crisis. And when I say that, what I mean is that I think the Chinese character for the word crisis is opportunity. So I think that crisis is an opportunity. And so if I think about, say, from an astrological point of view, I've got Saturn on midheaven. So sort of a Saturn transit around the Saturn transit around midlife wasn't kind of really a big deal for me, because with Saturn on the ascendant, the pressure, the responsibility, self-sufficiency, being placed in pressure cooker type situations and having to rely upon oneself, sort of, and not on external appearance or people, is very familiar to me. And I think that, if anything, with the Saturn transit occurring around midlife, I really think that that's an invitation or an opportunity for people to go inward. I think all of transits full stop are an invitation to make a transition, to make a change in consciousness, to make a move in consciousness. And I can remember when I first discovered astrology, or astrology discovered me or called me, because I really do think that that's what happened. And and I studied for a long time on my own, you know, with my teacher, but on my own. And then I sort of got the call to go out and meet with other astrologers, and I found it really, I sort of wanted to scream inside, really. You know, I'd sit in at conferences, or be asked to speak at conferences, or meet with other astrologers, and there was this big disconnect for me, because I mean, this is a long time ago. Maybe things have changed, I don't know. But astrology seemed to me to be very heady. It was all a, you know, and very, this will happen to you, and very mental approach, and a very fatalistic approach. And to me, you know, a very dry approach. So where was soul in this? I didn't see soul. I didn't see transits being spoken about or thought about as an opportunity for soul, as an invitation for soul. It was all very much kind of the external of what will happen to you physically or in your life or your relationships, as opposed to what does this transit want? What does this planet want? So very early on, I knew traditional astrology, or astrology that was sort of mainstream, wasn't what I wanted to do, or how astrology was a living thing for me, that the planets as aspects of my psyche, that every transit was an invitation to embrace an aspect of my psyche. So I better embrace Saturn, right? Because if I didn't, with a Saturn transit, Saturn's going to come crashing down my front door. So if Saturn's going to be a house guest for the X amount of time that it's transiting for, then open the door. Hi, Saturn, what do you want? You know, you're my roommate, you're my house guest. And there's that's the dance, you know. So that's always how my relationship with transits has been, instinctively and intuitively, right from the word go, where there wasn't anywhere to run, there wasn't anywhere to go, there wasn't anything to blame. There was just be with this experience that was, you know, had landed in my life, you might say, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So you know, the you know, the power of transits, I think, obviously at that midlife time, for many people probably really intense. I had a lot of things happen. But I didn't have any crises in consciousness, or look in the mirror and think, oh my God, I'm getting old or fat or ugly. It just, because it wasn't where what my life was about anyway. And as I said, I mean, Saturn on the ascendant makes, in a very strong 12th house, makes for a very rich inner life. So for as long as I can remember, that inner life has been the focus. So whatever was happening to me externally was sort of, wasn't really anything at some level, because it wasn't where, you know, that wasn't me. It was an aspect of me. So I think that the transits aren't just fait accompli. It's never been that way for me. That life's dealt me many challenges, and particularly and potentially soul-destroying situations. And I mean, you know, I've got a strong Scorpio, a strong Pluto, so it hasn't been a cakewalk. It's been very challenging, and I think situations that I've faced that could have destroyed somebody who didn't have that inner resilience or spiritual resilience that I had. But for me, they were always an invitation to go deeper. And I think with midlife, that if we've avoided going within, and I'm not saying, I'm speaking generally, speaking generally here, but I think if we have avoided going within, if we haven't gone there, then I do think it's going to be harder, because that invitation to go deeper, to become richer. I love Rumi. I love Rumi poems, and one of the ones that I just absolutely love is, the story, or maybe it's Rumi, I don't know, but anyway, I love this story where the great cook, and excuse me if I get the story quite wrong, but I've got my own twist on it perhaps, where the great cook has got this pot, and the pot's full of chickpeas, and that water gets heated up, and the chickpeas start cooking, and one of the chickpeas wants to jump out, complaining to the great cook that it's too hot, let me out of the pot. And of course the great cook just keeps pushing with the spoon, pushing the chickpea back in the pot, and saying, how else will you become rich and flavorsome and kind of edible, and I think that's what transits are, and they are an opportunity to become richer and deeper, and to, of course, the more that we do that, that's why I like that story, because it is about food, and it's like the more we can do that and become richer and deeper, and take the pressure cooker of Saturn, or the disintegration of Neptune, or the wounds of Chiron, the more we can take those and cook them up, then not only are we richer, but what we're able to give to others, the food that when I say food, when we give of ourselves, this is the age of the great mother energy, which is about that nourishing. So every connection we have with another soul is an opportunity for that soul to be enriched or nourished in some way. But we can only do that to the degree that we have something to give. Otherwise, it's just words and a lot of crap and a lot of fluff and a lot of big fat nothing. But or things that we've just like parrots repeating that we've heard. But if we're able to draw from our own wellspring, then the world is going to be a better place. But we can't do that unless we've done the work. So I'd say I didn't have a midlife crisis. Or particularly unravel. I had very, very intense experiences that took me deeper and made me richer and strengthened my relationship with soul and tempered my spirit. So that is and when I was ready, then of course the gifts in terms of first light flower essences, yes, and that was around 1999. So yes, when I was ready, and I don't say when I say I was ready, it's when spirit activated me. I liken it to switching on a switch. And so what I mean by that is that since I was about 15 or 16, the world of, whether it be tarot, astrology, I was sort of slam dunked at a very early age. I had to be self-sufficient, had to support myself at 15. Wow. So I was in a situation where I didn't have family, I didn't have relatives, so I was on my own. So from a very early age, that sink or swim, you might say, and draw upon if the external world isn't supportive, then the spiritual world certainly was supportive. And so that began my journey into my love of the unseen realm, the spiritual world, and all of the tools associated with that: tarot, astrology, flower essences, because they went hand in hand. I was working with astrology and flower essences very, very early on. And so I had been seeing clients for many, many years and involved in this world for many years, but it wasn't really until about that period, about 1990, whatever it was, when I would say that my switch got activated. So while I'd been making flower essences, I'd been seeing clients. It wasn't till then that, and I saw it in vision, that it was like, okay, I'm plugged in, you're good to go. And that's when things got very serious in terms of the offerings or the divine children that have been birthed through me. So really, I think that whole life, the preparation, that led up to first light flower essences being birthed into the world, and Medicinal and Center for Shamanic and Esoteric Studies, Eighth Ray Magic, Porter Alchemica, Esoteric Hypnosis Training Academy. They're all the work. They're all about soul. They're all about like supporting the soul to meet what to meet what the challenges or the situations that life brings us. So yes, I as I say, I learned very early on that there's, with the transits, that there was no point trying to resist them. Just what's the dance? Okay, what's the dance? And I saw it in vision once, Sarah, where there were these songs, and the transits were like songs, and the cycles of the transits were like songs. And you know how a song, a piece of music, lasts for a certain time, doesn't it? Mm. And so I understood, right, they're songs, and that the objective is to, what's the song that, to hear what's the song that's playing, and then to sing as loud as you can with that song, to learn the words and sing as loud as you can with that song, because it's only going to last for a certain time. And once it's finished, then another song or other ones are going to be playing, and you need to be with those as well.
So what do you do when there's overlapping songs? Because you're talking about your Saturn transit and how it and the effect of that. And I know that I'm in Uranus opposition, but I've also got a Pluto transit going on over here and this one over here, and sometimes it feels like there's a cacophony of songs. I mean, how do you sing really loudly with one when another one's going on at the same time?
I love that. So you think about a song, right? Now you're a musician, so sometimes you're just going to sing with your voice, right? Sometimes you might pick up your guitar. Sometimes you might sing with other musicians, play with other musicians. So it's like the music of the spheres. Sometimes you're kind of understanding what I'm saying now. So we've got this song, and sometimes a song just might be one planet going, be one planet. And sometimes that song, that piece of music, that celestial music, involves other planets as well.
I think I've been thinking in the head about them as separate, and when you were talking about
no
felt like a DJ, there's different genres kind of all going on together.
And I mean, that same image that I saw of the songs also applies to situations, because the transits are always associated usually with situations, aren't they? Not sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's external, sometimes it's a configuration, a combination of them both. Yes, that they're these amazing songs that we can dance to and sing to, and it's alchemy, isn't it? It's an alchemical process. Sometimes if Pluto's kind of got a solo in the song, Pluto might have a solo for a while.
Long while.
You understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where sometimes solos can go on. If you listen to a band and the guitarist gets to do a solo, sometimes that solo can go on forever. So if Pluto's doing a solo in the midst of the song, then that's what's going on. Pluto's doing the solo.
It's a bit of a soul. Oh, ha ha.
That's right. So the dancing with the planets.
So you mentioned also the effect when you're talking about your astrological midlife kind of time. You mentioned that it was about the soul lessons and the transits, and then you mentioned something about tempered by spirit or something like that. What did you mean?
What did I say? Because I don't have the top of mind that remembers what I've said. So can you please repeat it for me?
It's you said something about soul, and then tempered. I think it was by spirit, but I'd have to listen to the recording later.
Right. So if we come back to big topic, big question. Right. If we come back to the chakras, which is not such a big leap from our conversation, because the chakras are associated with these 7 ancient planets anyway. And the chakras and the 7 ancient planets are associated with metals. And so the objective of alchemy, or the objective of I say spiritual alchemy, is that we are purifying the metals, purifying the chakras, purifying the metals. And so if you think about it, tempering is associated with metals. Tempering will put, say, a sword into the fire. You see, so we're an instrument for divinity. We're to purpose good in the world, which is how what I understand I'm here for, one and only reason to purpose good in the world. Then I want to be the purest instrument that I can be. So the situations, the transits, are that opportunity to achieve that. So if we look at Saturn, right? Okay, here's the sword, here's this piece of metal, here's the sword. And so bang, bang, bang on the anvil with Saturn, right? So we're kind of being pressured or banged, pushed into shape, pushed into a shape. We think of, okay, Pluto, fire. The sword gets put in the fire to be heated. We look at Neptune, which is the water. Then the sword gets thrust into the water. And so all of that designed to strengthen, and make strong the instrument.
So how about
you? That's what I meant by that heat. And we all want to escape, don't we? Uncomfortable transits. Oh, I wish it was over. I wish it was over. People wish the transits away. Instead of, what does it want? What's going on here? What is this process or combination of processes? And so that's what I meant by tempering, understanding that we become indestructible We can become indestructible. Okay, this happens, that happens. We're not our physical body. Our spirit becomes indestructible. That's what I mean.
I like that. So you gave some great analogies with the Neptune sword into the water. Do you have one for Uranus, since that's quite topical for me right now and in my whole life and in my birth chart?
Well, remember, Uranus is changing shape, isn't it? I mean, it is the planet of change, and we put ourselves in boxes. Saturn, we put ourselves in boxes. I'm this, I'm that, and it's always incredibly limiting. And it's usually defined by something outside of ourselves. It's certainly going to be defined by one of the 12 houses. I'm my appearance. I'm my money or my possessions. Or, I'm my third house, I'm my mind, I'm my cleverness, Or fourth, I'm my family, I'm my sense of identity is derived from my family, and so on and on it goes. So we, limit ourselves in terms of what defines us. And then along comes Uranus that says, to hell with that. Let's demo that. Let's change that up, because you are more than that. You are not that which you have defined yourself as being. And of course, in Uranus. And so that liberation of the human spirit, that every transit, as far as I understand from my relationship with, is geared toward that liberation, strengthening of the human spirit, liberating of the human spirit, particularly in the Aquarian age, when we're responsible for our own spiritual evolution and growth, as opposed to, say, the Piscean age, the 2,000-year cycle prior to that, when the priest or the doctor or whoever it was the authority, and somebody else would do it for us. Well, sorry, in the Aquarian age, we are responsible for our own spiritual evolution, and the more intelligently we can understand the opportunities for that, the more we can participate. And to me, that's what transits are. They're an opportunity to participate. So Uranus is like busting out of the bat cave. It's breaking out, breaking free, and shattering limited definitions of the self. And that can be challenging for a lot of people, because first of all, you've got to know what those limiting definitions are, and most people don't, because they're so familiar with them that they can't separate out the limiting definitions of what they think they are from what they are. And those limiting definitions, of course, come from friends, family as well. I mean, it can be. I love Uranus transits, because there's nothing, suddenly somebody does this, and suddenly somebody, makes a change in their life, but it hasn't been a sudden thing at all, because it's been building up. But I think you see a lot of reactions with Uranus transits, so they're externalizing the change, as opposed to the change coming from within first. So, okay, run off with, the boss runs off with the secretary, or the corporate person goes off and, becomes, I don't know, a hippie on Waiheke or something. And I'm not saying all hippies go to Waiheke. There might not even be hippies anymore. I don't know. I'm showing my age there when I say hippies. But my point being that Uranus transits often, their changes are externalized, but that's like putting the cart before the horse, because the changes have to come from within first. You know, what box am I putting myself in? What box have I allowed others to put me in? And it's time to break out, break free. And that has to come from within first.
I feel like breaking into the Queen song.
That's right, absolutely.
And it's funny because I know that I've only kind of just getting into that orb, but I can feel change happening, and it feels like a real blessing to be able to observe that as well. And so maybe I have been guilty of identifying or wanting the transits to go faster, but there's this curiosity coming into it.
Yeah.
What is this? I know that it's on some level that it's quite life-changing, and people that I've talked to in this, it has that time has sent them in a different direction. And I would say that that was probably true for you, because you said you were ready at some point and then it was time to.
Yes, I was in a situation. So at say, if we're talking about Uranus, you know, Uranus opposition, that, you know, the big shake-up. I was in a situation where I was in a holding pattern. You know, it was a holding pattern. The whole situation was a holding pattern, and inside I was screaming to get out of that situation. I've been screaming for years to get out of a situation, but I knew the time wasn't right. I had to be ready inside. And so when I was ready inside, that was it. I was gone, you know, and kind of changed, kind of electrified and galvanized. Now, sometimes I think sometimes with the transits, and I think perhaps the Uranus, I don't like to generalize with them, but sometimes the Uranus one, perhaps more than the others, is there might be somebody comes into the life that wakes us up. So often a relationship can come into the life that wakes us up, and like Sleeping Beauty, you know, Sleeping Beauty. And my goodness me, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you wake up. And I'm not saying that's ideal, because ideally we wake up by ourselves. Ideally, we're waking up by ourselves, and have followed the clues. But what I've seen over and over again out there, say with clients, is often they will kind of oh, well, you've got to change. It's time to, you know, you've got to leave the job or got to leave the relationship. And they'll kind of put that off. Well, I can't leave the relationship because, you know, I've got children, or I can't leave my job because I've got a mortgage. So, you know, those Uranus stirrings, the stirrings are ignored, or we close our ears to the song. We're trying to sing an old song. And then, so if people are ignoring it, then often, you know, you'll find some external Uranus thing will come in and give them a kick up the backside because they didn't open the door voluntarily to Uranus. So it's really, you know, that cracking open of something within us that wants to be free, but redefining what does free mean. You know, free is free of the true freedom, which is associated with Uranus, is that freedom from the constraints within oneself. Sure, we then might make external changes, but it's inside what do we need to be freed from, and that's you know, say, just looping back to say the Esoteric Hypnosis Training Academy, which is work of the soul. So that's that work of, okay, liberating the soul from those old stories which are trapping it, so that it's free, it's liberated to create a new story, or to go into the new story that's waiting. So sometimes, look, we're not even aware of what the old stories are, because they're so deeply embedded in the psyche, and psyche is just another word for soul. We don't even know what they are, so we don't know where to start. We just know, oh, something's got to change. I've got to change when we've got the Uranus transit. And that's, I suppose that's one of my areas of expertise is, right, okay, well, what wants to change? What is going on here? As opposed to it's some loose thing of something's got to change. I can feel change coming on. Well, we know exactly what it is. You can pinpoint exactly what wants to change at a soul level. It's not difficult.
But for some who can't see that, it would be difficult.
Yeah, that's right. But that's right. But that's why people train, and that's why I do what I do. I mean, it isn't just me training people, equipping people with the tools to be able to help others to what is that thing. So you're not treading water for the whole of the transit. I mean, I love it with transits because there's those opportunities, isn't there? First of all, I've always felt the transpersonals come in months before they actually kind of come into orb. So we know they're coming, we can feel their thunder reverberating through our being. We can feel that movement coming.
The base before the rest of the song.
That's right, yeah. Absolutely. Ear to the ground, they're on their way, it's on its way, and think either wanting to run or preparing the house for the house guest. And then when that house guest comes, okay, there's the arrival, and oh my God, it's here. And then you get used to it, and then you're going to farewell that transit or those planets. You're going to farewell them. And so we close that with good medicine. We're not thinking, oh, thank God my Uranus transit's over. Thank God my Pluto transit's over, which is kind of just what I see so much out there. It's just they've missed the plane. They've missed the date with destiny.
Oh no, I said exactly the same thing about my Pluto square because it was so hard.
and that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. That's that thinking that which wasn't. I knew that there's more to astrology than that. That sure it's not necessarily comfortable, but evolution not comfortable. Ask the caterpillar that is a caterpillar and then has to eat lots of swan plant and stuff itself until it turns into a chrysalis and then go through the dissolving, disintegrating phase to become a butterfly. Hardly comfort zone, is it? So evolution is not comfortable, and people like comfort, so they will avoid the invitation of the transits because they see change as frightening. Because most people are control freaks, they want to control everything, so they see change as threatening unless it's on their terms. I don't like change unless I'm controlling the change. And so you can't do that with the transits because they are they're the dance, they're the music, and we just have to get, okay, is this rock and roll? Is this a rock and roll, or is this a waltz, or what's the music that's playing?
Is it hardcore house? Yeah. Oh well, I guess a lot of us go through that process of feeling like, oh no, that's that. I'm so glad it's over, and kind of come into that, oh, hang on, that's not working. How can I take that opportunity? How can I learn from this? How can I really embody it? How can I sing that song?
Yeah, how can I participate fully in my soul's evolutionary journey? Because that's what the transits are. That the transit is an invitation to make a transition, to change. A transition, transit, same thing.
Yeah. And
so what is that transition I'm supposed to be making? Is it facing my fear? Is it, what is it? What is it that needs to change? What story needs to change at a soul level? And I think that's the thing that's really important from my point of view. I mean, obviously I'm only speaking with my relationship with astrology and transits. I'm sure there's astrologers out there who'll be thinking quite differently, but I don't care, because I understand that the power of astrology for our human soul is so misunderstood, and so seizing the opportunity to make that next evolutionary leap. And I think I had another vision once in terms of transits, and they really are like, it's like a plane. They're the next leap on our date with destiny, and so it's like a plane lands, and we have an opportunity to go to a new place in consciousness, but we've got to have the ticket to get, we've got to have the passport and got to have the ticket to get on the plane, or else that plane's going to go without us. So every time a transit, we get those transits, okay, there's the plane's landed and we've got our passport and we've got our ticket, but only if we pick that up. And then the plane is there for a while. And if we haven't boarded and got on board with the transit, got on board with that planet, then the plane will take off without us, and we'll be left the same, thinking, oh, gee, what's my life all about? I feel like I've missed the boat. I feel like I've missed the boat. So, and the people will say that unconsciously. I mean, I got shown a plane, but it's kind of no different, that saying, miss the boat, miss the plane. So yes, they are our means, our means to take us in, our dates with destiny. Every transit is a date with destiny. It's just, are we going to show up? Or are we going to kind of stay at home in terms of our consciousness and stay the same?
So with all these changes, and of course everyone's going through transits all the time, it's not just midlife. I know that we spoke recently, and when you interviewed me, and I know that you recommended in your post something that could assist, which was a specific first life flower essence. So this help with midlife, but I mean, and clearly you've talked about changing that soul story. I know that you've got all these academies and schools, and what can you tell us about that kind of support? Tell us a little bit more about what you have in your toolbox that you're offering to people that might assist with them.
I'll do it in a chronological a chronological order. In other words, in the order that they came into being. So there's first light flower essences of New Zealand, which are vibrational medicine. So vibrational medicine in the form of flower essences is a very powerful tool when we're sort of wanting to go on that journey of being proactive. Okay, we're feeling stressed, right? That's an inner state. So how can we bring that part of us into harmony? So flower essences is a very, very powerful way to start to proactively take charge and take responsibility, so you don't feel like you are a ship being buffeted around by the changes within yourself or within the world. So flower essences bring us from a state of dis-ease inside ourselves or disharmony to a state of harmony. So that's first light flower essences of New Zealand. The first light natural health, which are ready-made combination ones. So they're sort of just very accessible. If you just want something, you can take that and without having to kind of think about it too much. Medicine Center for Shamanic and Esoteric Studies is for those souls who are seeking to, remember I talked about going within. They're seeking to go within in an intelligent way, and to follow a pathway that progressively takes them through a series of evolutionary journeys. And so a sequential journey, a pathway. So there's I'm not sure how many courses there. There's the Healer's course, Shamanic course, Advanced Shamanic course, Rite of the 12 Celestial Regents, Rite of the 6 Moons, Ritual of the 12 Gates, and some of those are working with the planets. So you're working directly with the planets and going on a specific journey with them. There is Porta Alchemica, which is ritual. So ritual, of course, is a very powerful way to step forth as the magician into the center of the wheel, as opposed to, once again, feeling like you're being buffeted around by what's happening. So we're using the power of ritual to be the magician of our own life and to affect change in the world. And then, of course, Esoteric Hypnosis Training Academy, which is very, very much focused on the soul as that each of us has a history, and we've had many, many experiences, and that we come into this world. In the first time we are born, we have everything that we need to meet any of life's experiences, but the soul loses aspects of itself along the way. Through its many lifetimes, it loses aspects of itself along the way. You know, we might lose our confidence, lose part of our heart. So we become less than. And we develop old stories, soul stories, that are based on being less than. So the Esoteric Hypnosis Training Academy, and in particular the training called Hypnotique Protocol, Esoteric Hypnosis, equips our hypnotherapists to be able to assist souls to reclaim those lost bits of themselves that are lessening, making for a less than life, and to place new stories back that are in keeping with the soul, with the soul's evolutionary objectives and with its destiny. So those are sort of the main tools that Spirit's directed me to offer, all of them assisting souls at whatever level. It's like and then there's me. People can come to me. There's not a lot of opportunity for that, but there is a little windows. So it's like an 8-pointed star. So there I am in the middle, and there's the things that divinity's said to radiate out into the world. So different strokes for different folks.
Totally, and I always find it fascinating to go, oh, what's coming out next? Yeah, I feel from, especially since we've been talking so much astrology, that Celestial Regents course just offered astrology from such a different perspective, a really experiential perspective of like, oh, so that's what Venus feels like.
Yeah,
that's what Jupiter feels like, except I put on a lot of weight during Jupiter, so maybe I'll have to redo that and make sure I don't. But it was just fascinating, like a really different way of connecting into astrology, not in the headspace, and of doing the headspace as well, recalling what did that actually feel like. I guess that's with the transits. What do those combinations feel like?
That's exactly right, because when we're in the mindset that the planets are separate from us and the transits are happening to us, then we can't possibly be in relationship with these vital archetypal energies which are actually part of us. So that's right. What does Saturn feel like? Completely different to what Uranus is going to feel like. So that's when the fun, serious fun, because transits are serious stuff. But that's when the serious fun starts, when we can, if any transit is been most interesting for me, the bigger ones, it's been Neptune, because that one is, as I say, I've got a strong Pluto and strong planets, strong transpersonals, and Neptune was kind of the little one that was not the little one, but the one that is the most amorphous, but Neptune and I are on very good terms right now, so all's well.
Oh, I love Neptune. Ah.
So it all comes to me. It all comes down to, right, the transits are not happening to you, Sarah. The transits are not happening to me, Franchelle. Even though it might appear that way, the transits are calling my soul. It's my soul that the transits are here for. And they just have to kind of work through the personality vehicle that happens to be called Sarah or happens to be called Franchelle, but they've actually come to assist my soul and to query what story what old soul story that I've got locked in to consciousness that is out of order. So Mart is, okay, I'm holding a story that's in order with my soul, but Isfet is I'm holding an old soul story that's out of order with my soul. And so the transits come along to help us correct and rewrite that story, which of course is where the hypnosis, esoteric hypnosis, comes in, because we are able to communicate directly with soul, and soul's able to give us the information that we need and to identify what needs to be changed, so that we can embrace fully the something that is a truer story, not one that is a lie that we've told ourselves, I'm less than, or whatever it might be.
So how do people find you? Maybe they want to find out more about Martin Ismet, or any of the that you've talked about.
So I have a number of websites, but probably the best one is Franchelle. So Franchelle.com.
It's that, and I've been typing out your whole name all that time. I'm still a bit old school. I type out the website name instead of Googling. You've got Franchelle.com. Well, that's easy.
It is easy, isn't it? Franchelle.com, and you'll find all of the schools are there. And I've got a esoteric hypnosis training course coming up at the end of September. So that's a 10-week training, and that's working. That's a hypnotic protocol esoteric hypnosis, which is soul retrieval and deep soul work, which is what I've been talking about, where we're learning how to take the client into a particular state of hypnosis, so we can dialogue with soul and we can work directly with soul to be able to change those old stories, to find out what's going on, and to assist that soul to be able to embrace the fullness and magnificence of its destiny.
Thank you so much, Franchelle, and thank you, Spirit, for encouraging Franchelle here.